Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another Green Square Talks Battlebots prediction podcast. So, I present to you the bracket for the 7th World Championship of Battlebots. So, yeah, the top 32 robots have been selected for this thing, and starting next Thursday, we're going to start getting closer and closer to finding out who out of these 32 robots are going to win the Giant Nut. Yeah, so the idea is this is just going to be the same thing as my usual prediction podcast. Basically, I'm going to go through each of these matchups one by one, round by round, so expect me to have no voice by the end of this and discuss some of these fights as I usually do with lots of these prediction podcasts because it's fun. So, yeah, absolutely. So, if you like what you see here, like and subscribe as usual, and comment down below your predictions or who you think is going to win it all, top four, whatever. Love to hear what you all think the outcome in lots of these brackets will be. Whether, even if you just post who you think will win the whole thing, or if you post as a final four, whatever. But regardless, I'd love to hear it. So, yeah, and if you're here just to see what my bracket looks like, skip to the end of the video. And if you want to just see that and don't want to hear any of the regular discussion, I'm totally cool with that. And yeah, it's not like I can stop anyone or anything from that. So, all right. So ideas. I'm gonna go through each of these fights one by one. And before I do that, though, I will mention there's gonna be no prediction podcast based on just a specific episode. Uh, Basically, with these next two episodes, they're just going to do each half for the first round of the bracket. My predictions for those are just going to match what I'm talking about here, so there's no point in doing a whole separate video on each of those halves of the bracket. So, yeah, the predictions I'm sharing with you here are going to be my predictions for this Thursday and then following Thursday. From what I know, this upcoming Thursday, they're doing the right side of the bracket. So the first round for quadrants 2 and 3. And then the following Thursday, they're going to do the left half of the bracket. So the first round for quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. So I'm going to start off with quadrant 2 and quadrant 3 here. Just to kind of keep it consistent. Like I'll move towards just starting with quadrant 1 and 4, or at least for the second round. But for this round, we're just going to go along with what Battlebots has planned for this Thursday and the following Thursday. So let's get started here. So leading off, well, this isn't the exact order. I'm just going to go from top to bottom. Riptide and Shatter battled the 2 and the 31 seed. This is a rematch from last season where Shatter got an absolute ass kicking from Riptide in that one. Riptide just got the upper hand very early on and just did not let up until Shatter was done for. And yeah. So Shatter, what they're probably going to need to do here is, personally, I think the only way Shatter's going to be able to take this one is they're going to need to puncture the top of Riptide, at least. Because I don't think they're going to be able to disable Riptide's weapon. I don't think they're going to be able to box rush, just because I think Shatter's a little too slow for that. So, yeah, basically, I think Shatter's going to need to puncture the top and disable something internally to cause Riptide to stop moving. Riptide's strategy, probably just going to be the same as all their other fights this season and the last time they fought Shatter, but perform better, basically. Basically, just win it the same way, but better. And that's why I think Riptide's going to win this one. I think we're going to see another massacre by Riptide this season. Like, there's a good reason why this robot was ranked number 2, and yeah, if you're gonna reply why you think Shatter's in the bracket, I don't plan on talking about my opinions of the bracket. Basically, we were talking about that for the episode review podcast. So if you want to hear my opinions or the rest of the podcast crew's opinions on the bracket, check out the episode review for this week. So that's the one thing I forgot to say. But yeah, anyway, I'm going Riptide for that fight against Shatter. Let's move on. Lucky and Hypershock, 15 and the 18 seed. So both robots, pretty good at least. Lucky's pretty strong, 3-1, and for the most part, so, like pretty weak strength of schedule for those first three fights, but absolute domination and perfect driving by Matt Olson in all three of those matchups before taking a very quick defeat to Cobalt in that one. So now they're up against another dangerous vertical spinner, with that being Hypershock. Uh, yeah, Hypershock ended the regular season 2-2, but it was a pretty good 2-2, I'd say. Yeah, those losses were to Sawblaze and Endgame. Both of them, Hypershock had some moments in there, and then Hypershock won, and then won pretty definitively against Whiplash and Claw Viper. So as for this one, basically this one's going to come down to driving and can Lucky avoid that vertical spinner. Because Hypershock's big advantage in this one, which is the same advantage they had when they fought Claw Viper earlier this season, is the fact that they have a damaging vertical spinner. So yeah, this is going to be an epic driving match between Matt and Will, and I'm going to lean towards Hypershock on this one. And like I think Hypershock has the speed and the maneuverability advantage. I think Lucky definitely has the durability to take the hits from Hypershock, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Like I think we're probably going to see a Hypershock KO on this one. I don't think it'll be as quick as what we saw when Lucky fought Cobalt in the last episode, but I think Hypershock's going to dominate. Fight number 3, Endgame and Tantrum, the 7 seed versus the 26 seed. So this is round 3 between these robots. Where, yeah, we saw Endgame win a couple seasons ago in their route towards winning the championship. We saw Endgame win last season in their route towards winning the Golden Bolt. And now we got a round 3 between them. Yeah, Endgame definitely a very worthy of that 7 seed, a powerful 3-1 record with that lone loss to Ripperoni where they had some excellent moments before just getting high centered. Yeah, before getting high centered causing them to lose that match. Tantrum on the other hand, definitely concerning at least. They are the defending champ, but 1-3 record. Lots of those being because of gremlins right there. Like their self-rider wasn't working properly in either the Minotaur or the Whiplash fight, and then the second fight with Blip. Yeah, an internal issue caused him to lose drive on one side, and Blip just being able to control the match right from there. But a powerful win over Hydra. So, as for this one, I think Endgame's going to be 3-0 in this series after this match. This one's going to come down to a combination of driving and ground game. Tantrum definitely has the speed and the maneuverability advantage between these two, without a doubt. But I think Endgame definitely has the ground game advantage and a heck of a lot more powerful of a vertical spinner there. Yeah, I think what we're probably going to see, I think Tantrum probably has the durability to take the hits, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be enough. I think Tantrum's big shot at this, unless if they can outdrive and manage to either disable Endgame's spinner or cripple Endgame's ground game. I think Tantrum's gonna be on the losing end for a majority of this match, or if they can outlast Endgame, because Endgame was showing signs of damage at the end of that last meeting, and but yeah. Regardless, I think we're gonna see a dominant performance from Endgame in this one, and I have Endgame moving on to the next round. Okay, fight number 4, Copperhead and Rotator, and I'm really excited for this one. I think out of lots of these first round matchups, I think this is one I'm really looking forward to. So, Copperhead sitting at 3-1, a pretty powerful 3-1 as well. Three pretty dominant victories early on before taking that brutal loss to Ripperoni, but pretty worthy of that 10 seed because Luke has been just on point so far with his driving. But he's got Rotator, which is a very tough opponent for a robot like Copperhead. Because, yeah, Rotator is sitting at 2-2. They ended the season pretty strong with that win over Fusion. But a lot of inconsistencies to still look at. But if Rotator can maintain what they had at the end of that fight with Fusion, they, I think, could give Copperhead a serious run for their money in this match. So what I expect to see, I kind of expect Copperhead's going to go with a similar configuration to what they went with the Fusion fight, where I think they'll probably go with the spinner on one side and Forks on the other side. But it looks like when they fought Fusion in a couple episodes ago, looks like they had Forks that were more like the Forks they used back in 2019, which looks to be better to be able to take impacts. Because like I think if they went with the Forks they went with at the beginning of the season, I think Copperhead would likely rip off those Forks pretty easily. Looks like those ones are better built for spinners like this. So, but as for this one, I am going to go Copperhead for this one. I think some of the inconsistencies we've seen with Rotator this season, and then the com and then the fact that I think Copperhead will be able to win most exchanges with either one weapon and of Rotator. I think gives Copperhead an advantage in this one. But the big concerns I would have for Copperhead at least in this one, and why I absolutely could see Rotator taking this one, but I'm not second guessing myself. I am going Copperhead on this one. Is like Rotator Richter Stone definitely has driving skills where he could possibly. There are a lot of spots on Copperhead to bite onto. That Rotator could easily do like the sit and spin type strategy and try to nail Copperhead's sides or something like that. Or just the fact that Rotator's a bit more durable, so I think they could absolutely outlast Copperhead, possibly. But Rotator's definitely shown some signs of durability problems too. But yeah, I think a head-on exchange, Copperhead probably wins most of those exchanges, and I think we're gonna see a Copperhead KO on this one. But I think it'll be a bit longer of a fight than what some of these others might be. All right, next one, Witch Doctor and Jackpot starting to get into Quadrant 3. So this one is a big one. So Witch Doctor, a very strong 3-1, three very powerful victories, and a very close loss to Minotaur in the recent episode. They're up against Jackpot with a solid 2-2 record. Started off with two pretty brutal losses to Scorpios and Rotator, but then bounced back with two powerful victories over Ribot and Captain Shredderator. So, all right, here we go. Here comes the spicy take. I always like to predict an upset or two in the first round. This is one of the upsets I'm going with. I am predicting Jackpot to win this fight. And yeah, basically, my reasoning for lots of this is basically I think both of these robots are probably going to go for reach at least with this one. Right. Witch Doctor almost always goes for reach whenever until like their previous two fights, and then Jackpot kind of does a combination at least of reach and ground game. Scorpios will explain that very well in their builder blog videos from when they fought Jackpot this season. But yeah. I actually could see a possible repeat of what we saw in Jackpot and Lockjaw on that first exchange right there. But yeah, I think Jackpot's probably wouldn't be able to get that shot right away because Witch Doctor does have multiple belts and multiple belts on each side too, nonetheless. And their motors are much better protected, which is why we saw the weapon not go up in flames a lot less between this season, last season, compared to what we saw the couple seasons before. I think this one's going to come down to who can win that first exchange right there. I think whoever wins that first exchange and starts dishing out damage to like disable the other's weapon, I think that's going to be the winner of this fight. And I think Jackpot could possibly do it. I think Jackpot could absolutely pull it off and win that first exchange. So I'm going for it. I'm going for the 30 seed on this one. And I'm going to predict Jackpot to win this fight. But I expect this is probably going to, like, definitely I think this is either going to be a quick victory for Witch Doctor, or I think this is going to be a bit longer of a fight. I'd probably say a judge's decision for Jackpot, but yeah, I'm going to pull through for Jackpot in this one. I'm going with them on this one. But regardless, I think this will be an awesome fight, and I cannot wait to see this because these are two of my favorite robots right in here. So, all right, let's move on to Lockjaw and Bloodsport right down below, which is another rematch from a couple seasons ago, back in 2020, where these two robots met in the finals for the Beta Bounty bracket. So for this one, I expect Lockjaw's probably going to go with the same configuration they've used for all horizontal spinners. I think they'll probably go with the rear plow and then one fork and a vertical spinner, or no fork and vertical spinner. I don't know which one as for that front configuration, but regardless, I think they're going with the rear plow for this regardless. So yeah, and then Bloodsport, I'm not sure what kind of how their strategy is exactly going to change here, but I imagine they're probably going to try to outdraw. I imagine they're probably going to try to outdrive Donald Hudson and try to go for like the wheels or something like that. Because I think that's going to be that's probably what Bloodsport's big target is going to be for that. So yeah, as for this one, I'm going to go Lockjaw once again. Like Lockjaw absolutely outdrove Bloodsport that first time they fought previously, and I think that's what's going to happen once again here. So I think the only shot Bloodsport's probably got this one is going to be go for the wheels and knock off as many wheels as they possibly can, hinder Lockjaw's movement as much as possible. My big concern for Lockjaw though is if their weapon overheats. While I think they probably will be pretty well defended from Bloodsport's spinner with that rear plow, definitely that could be a bad sign for Lockjaw if by chance they start off the fight very strong and dish out a little bit of damage with the vertical spinner to Bloodsport, like what we saw last time, because we saw them absolutely wreck that horizontal spinner on Bloodsport in that last fight. But if Lockjaw Spinner ends up going up in flames, like that's not going to be a good sign because I fully expect this fight's probably going to go to the judges once again, unless if Lockjaw like loses drive because of that smoke. But yeah, regardless though, I think I'm going to lean towards Lockjaw winning this fight, but I can't wait for this. They had an awesome showdown in that round one, and I hope we'll get to see something like that once again. All right, next fight, Huge and Scorpios. So I'm just gonna say this right here. In my opinion, I think this is the worst possible matchup Battlebots could have given Scorpios. This is my opinion. Zach and Diane might disagree with me on this, and yeah, that's totally fine. At least that's my opinion. I think Huge is one of, if not the worst possible opponents for Scorpios. Uh, yeah, right off the bat, right there, you can already tell who I'm predicting for this one, and I'm going Huge on this one. And this is probably one of my most confident predictions of the first round right there. The big thing being that idler that Zach was talking about a lot with like saw with like their strategy to take out Sawblaze is very exposed in this one, and I think that's gonna be absolute target practice for Huge right there. And yeah, I think Scorpio's strategy is probably gonna be they're probably gonna add some extra armor to protect that idler however they can to be able to take some hits from Huge, and then see if they can strike the base of Huge. I'm not sure if they can get the height to strike Huge's base, but it would not shock me if they could. I would probably lean towards that they can when their spinner is up in the upper area, but I don't know for sure to be honest. My guess is yes, but it could be a no very easily. I don't know for certain, like I said already, but yeah, I think what we're gonna see here is I think we're gonna see Huge just like hit after hit from Scorpios, stacking up damage, and I think Huge is gonna win this one by KO. Oh, I think Scorpios does have the durability to tank some shots from Huge, but I don't think it'll be enough, unfortunately. And I think we're gonna see Huge advance to the top 16, get out of the first round for the first time. Because I think every time we've seen Huge in the bracket they've gone out in the first round. I think this is going to be the year where Huge manages to win their first round matchup. But yeah, Scorpio's key to win this one is definitely going to be hitting the base of Huge, but I think Huge is going to deny a lot of that from happening. So let's move on. Fight number 8, the bottom match of this side of the bracket. Claw Viper and Mad Catter. Another rematch. This one from last season in the Golden Bull comp. So yeah, as for this one, like Claw Viper's just come out of nowhere this season. And like that improved drive has helped tremendously for Claw Viper. But this is a not very easy opponent at all with Bad Catter. Bad Catter's also got quite a bit of speed, another excellent driver, and most importantly, that nasty vertical spinner right on that side. So yeah, as for this fight, I think Mad Catter is going to win it again. Unfortunately, like I really want to see a deep run from Claw Viper in the bracket, but I don't think it's going to happen. Unfortunately, he because like I think Mad Catter has a serious design advantage in this one, and I think as soon as Mad Catter either bends the lifter of Claw Viper if they get underneath Claw Viper, or start landing hits to the sides or the underside of Claw Viper, I think Mad Catter is going to start dealing some serious damage to Claw Viper, and I think Mad Catter is going to win this one by KO. So yeah, like I hope I like in heart I really want Claw Viper to win this one. But in mind, I think Mad Catter's probably got this one. So, anyway, let's move over to the left side of the bracket, which will be premiered not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. Okay, so right at that top spot, we got the 1 seed Minotaur and the 32 seed Fusion. So, I'm so glad to see Fusion in the bracket, because those first two fights were two of like my top 5 favorite fights from this entire season so far. So, as for this one, Minotaur is the robot I have winning the whole thing. I'm gonna say that right off the bat, and I think Minotaur is gonna win this one, obviously. But this is one I am a bit nervous about as for my champ. The reason being, with Fusion, what Fusion are we gonna see in this match? Are we gonna see the fusion that kicked the crap out of Emulsifier and Witch Doctor? Even though the Witch Doctor fight ended up in L, Fusion still did very well in that fight and had Witch Doctor on the ropes in the first half of that match. Or are we gonna see the Fusion that was quickly defeated by Huge and caught fire against Rotator? If we see the fusion from those first two fights, they're going to give Minotaur a serious run for their money in this one. Like, those weapons are very capable of doing some serious damage to Minotaur. Like, both of them are. But then, if we see the fusion that didn't work so well, or it didn't perform so well in those other two fights, I think Minotaur is going to dominate in this one. I think what we're going to see here I think we're going to see Fusion start the fight off strong and start taking it to the 1 seed. But I think eventually Minotaur's going to pull ahead, whether it's chip apart the wedgelets on Fusion to where they start tossing them around, or if we see Fusion catch fire or something like that. I don't know, but I am going to be predicting Minotaur for this one, but I am nervous about that one. Because I think Fusion's going to give Minotaur a big run for their money, and I think this is going to be a great fight. All right, right down below, the 16 and the 17 seed, Switchback and Malice. And this is one where I think this could be a really underrated fight from what we might be expecting to see exactly. So, as for this one, I am going to be going with Malice for this fight. So, with this fight, I like a weapon on weapon exchange. I think Switchback almost certainly wins, but I bet Malice is probably going to come with forks for this fight to try to get under. I'm guessing Switchback will probably go with that wedge that they've been using for most of those previous matchups right there. The reason why I'm going Malice on this one is I think winning the ground game is going to be key, and I think Malice has the advantage in that. Plus, also, David Lau might try some fancy driving to try to get to switchback sides, because Malice definitely has the speed and a maneuverability advantage. So it's possible Malice might try to avoid the front altogether, or the backside altogether. Just because there is also the possibility Switchback could maybe try a driving maneuver and strike the top or underside or whatever of Malice. So as for this one, I'm kind of counting on David Lau winning the driving game between these two. And I think if he does that, I think Malice is going to come out on top and advance to the next round. All right, fight number 3, right down below. Sawblaze and Blip. And wow, I'm really looking forward to this one. And who would have known 2 fights in a row, Jamison Go is going to get a flipper for this one. We're going to see how much how much Jameson Go has changed the robot, and his crew has changed the robot ever since that Hydra fight. So yeah, Sawblaze, a strong 3-1 record with just that lone loss to Hydra, and then Blip 2-2 record, but definitely more of a nerve-wracking 2-2 record because Blip definitely has some stuff to sort out regarding winning the ground game because they struggled to win the ground game a bit against. I wouldn't say exactly struggled to win the ground game, but struggled to get that flipper underneath Banshee in the recent match, and even in the fight against Tantrum, they were kind of struggling to get underneath Tantrum, and yeah, but this is a fight where Blip's gonna need to have that all sorted out because if Aaron Hill loses the ground game very early on, Sawblaze is just gonna absolutely crowd Blip around the arena, take them where they want to, and hit them time and time again with that hammer saw until Blip's disabled and not moving anymore. So yeah, I do think Blip will get a flip or two in on this one, but I think Sawblaze is gonna eventually get the scoop up and start just start dishing hits out with that hammer saw, and I think that's gonna be the end for Blip. I'm gonna go Sawblaze here. I think Sawblaze will win this fight, and it'll probably take a bit of time. I think this could be a judge's decision match, but I think it'll be Sawblaze's fight to win, unless if Aaron Hill can control the match as well as he did when he was driving Tantrum when they fought Sawblaze a couple seasons ago. But yeah, we'll see, and I think this will be another awesome fight, and I can't wait to see it. All right, Cobalt and Monsoon right down below. Straight off the bat, no shot. This is a judge's decision match. I think we're gonna see some heavy shots fired from at least I think both of these robots right there. We got 2 of the nastiest vertical spinners meeting in this matchup between the 9 and the 24 seed. Both have shown very much capability in all four of those matchups to be able to dish out such heavy damage to their opponents, and I think we're going to see a lot of that here. I think one of these robots is going to have a serious amount of repair work to do before the Golden Bolt tourney, if one or both of these robots are in that thing. So as for my prediction for this one, I'm going Cobalt for this one. I think this one's going to come down to who can win the ground game early on. I think Monsoon definitely has the ground game has the capability to win the ground game, but I kind of like Cobalt's ground game capabilities better, at least. And I like Dave Mold's driving style a little bit better too, but yeah, like I seriously think this is going to be another one of those fights where whoever can get the first shot wins that match. Whoever wins the ground game and cripples the other's ground game first wins this one. Plus, I think Cobalt is better, more capable of being able to take some of those first few shots from the other's damaging weapon. So a lot of that is why I'm going to go Cobalt on this one. Combination of durability that I think they have the more powerful weapon, and I probably lean towards them towards winning the ground game on this one. But this is another one where I could absolutely see the underdog pulling this one off. So all right, right down below, getting to the fourth quadrant now, last quadrant before we start moving on to round two. Hydra and Death Roll. So for this one, I really want Death Roll to win this one because I was so glad to see them back. But I think we're just going to see a repeat of Hydra and free shipping for this fight. I think we're going to see an absolute flip fest from Hydra in this one. I think Death Roll definitely has the durability to take the flips, so I'm betting we see a judge's decision for this one. But I'm predicting it's going to be a pretty one-sided decision. I think Hydra's just going to choose to just rush at Death Roll head on and just toss them as much as they can. Let Death Roll self right, and then flip them again. Just demonstrate as much control as possible, and then let Death Roll either kill itself on the arena, whether that's kill their weapon or kill the drive. And I think that's probably what Jake's going to go for with this one. I think Death Roll's only big shots are probably going to be try to avoid the front of Hydra, but I think with Jake's driving abilities, like I don't think really anyone's been able to succeed at that. I don't think anyone's been able to successfully like nail the sides of the backside of Hydra since Minotaur did a couple seasons ago. So yeah, I think in this one, I think we're going to see a one-sided flip fest from Hydra, and maybe we'll see Hydra break its own record for the highest number of flips it's landed in a match. So yeah, I got Hydra winning this one. Let's move on to Beta and Whiplash. So this one I think is a driving match between the two of them because we got two great drivers in John Reed and Maddie Vasquez, and then two pretty effective weapons with Beta's hammer and Whiplash's both vertical spinner and lifter for this one. So once again, I think this is a driving match, and almost any time I see a driving match, I will predict Whiplash for it, and I am going Whiplash for this one. I think I bet we could see the aluminum hammer that we saw Beta use against and Shatter, but I also could see them use that spinner hammer and try to disable the spinner and or the lifter, maybe both. But yeah, I'm definitely counting on this being a driving match, and I bet Maddie Vasquez wins the driving match, like what we saw him do in their last match with Tantrum for the most part, because Tantrum was getting hits on Whiplash early on, but I think if Maddie Vasquez wins the driving game, I think they can absolutely tank some shots from Beta's hammer, regardless of which hammer they config they go with for this fight. And I'm gonna go Whiplash for this one. So yeah. Basically, to put it straightforward, I think Maddie Vasquez is gonna outdrive John Reed in this one, and I think that's gonna lead Whiplash to a judge's decision victory. All right, next fight, Quantum and Ribot. So as for what configuration do I think Ribot's gonna go with for this one? I predict Ribot's gonna go with the vertical spinner for this one. I think going with the undercutter for a fight like this, it gives Quantum a lot more to bite into on the top of Ribot. But if Ribot goes with the vertical spinner, Quantum's going to need to be a bit more careful because they probably do not want to go weapon on weapon with Ribot. Like they probably want to try to avoid that. Basically, I think there's less for Quantum to bite into or to safely bite into if Ribot goes with the vertical spinner for this one. Plus if Ribot goes with wedgelets for this one, if they get underneath Quantum and start just landing hits on them, they're not gonna have to worry about the Crusher because Quantum can't use the Crusher if they're up in the air or getting flipped around like that. And if they go with the vertical spinner for this one, that's why I think Ribot's gonna win this one. I think Ribot has the advantage winning the ground game with those wedgelets right there. And I think we're going to see Ribot control the match with Quantum. But then on the other hand, Quantum, definitely another robot that's come out of nowhere. I don't think many, including myself, expected to see them go 4-0 in this one. So happy that they did, because I'm so happy to get to see Quantum return to Battlebots with that awesome design, that gorgeous Crusher design. But I think Quantum's big shot is going to be outdrive Ribot in this one and try to bite into those sides or the backside. Just bite into the whatever areas on the top they're relatively exposed to Ribot. Because if I took a guess, I bet Ribot probably doesn't have a lot of armor on top. And so I think one or two good bites could be the end for Ribot if Ribot is not careful. But I think a head-on exchange, if David Jin goes with his aggressive driving style and doesn't hesitate towards Quantum, I think Ribot could absolutely pull this one off, and I'm going to go with the underdog for this one. So, yeah, that kind of gives you the gist of it. Let's move on to the last fight of the first round. I don't know if this is actually going to be the last fight of the first round, but basically, by the order of how I'm doing these predictions, that would be the last match. So, and it's Ripperoni and Black Dragon, two pretty nasty vertical spinners. So for this one, I've got for this one. Oh man, I don't like this one just because like I love both of these robots. So I love both these robots. Like I like Ripperoni with the pizza design, and then Black Dragon. Black Dragon's one of my favorite robots of all time. So yeah, basically, this one was a hard one in heart for me to predict right there. Because one of the robots I love is going to go down in this one. Only one robot can advance. Unless if there was a dropout for whatever reason, and one of these robots were able to sub in. Which I kind of doubt is going to happen right there. So, alright, so as for my prediction for this one, I'm leaning towards Ripperoni on this one. I think the Pizza Bot's going to pull this one off. But yeah, lots of my reasoning for this one is that if Ripperoni starts getting underneath Black, I think Ripperoni probably wins the ground game pretty easily in this one, and starts just throwing Black Dragon around like Riptide did. Black Dragon's big shot is probably going to be go for those exposed wheels, which will probably involve some fancy driving tactics. But with how great that speed and maneuverability is on Ripperoni, I don't think they're gonna allow that to happen. So I think if Ripperoni is able to stick right on Black Dragon for this one and just land shot after shot on Black Dragon. I think Ripperoni could possibly get another KO. I think we could possibly see another Black Dragon KO on this one. I think I'm going to lean towards Ripperoni. I don't think it's going to be as quick of a fight as Ripperoni Black Dragon was, but I think they are going to win this one by knockout. Alright, that'll do it for the first round, so let's go ahead and move on to the second round. Okay, so here's round two, right here, with all my predictions for the first round. Lots of good matchups that I managed to set up here. Quite a few matchups I'm really looking forward to, if these do happen. Because I could very easily be wrong on many of these predictions, because, like, the field is so stacked this year to where we could see we could see many monster upsets coming, seeding wise, because I wouldn't exactly consider them an upset exactly just because of how stacked the field is, because these are 32 of the best robots we've ever seen. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. Where I'm just going to start right at the top, right there. We're going to Minotaur and Malice. And this is another one where it kind of breaks my heart a little bit. Because, like, Minotaur and Malice are two of my top 5 favorite robots. And if this matchup happens, one of them is going to have to go down in this one. And Yes, I think it's going to be Minotaur that wins this match. I think Minotaur is going to come out on top. I think Malice's big shot is going to be outdrive Daniel Freitas, because Malice definitely has the speed and the maneuverability advantage, but I think they lose a weapon on weapon exchange. I think this could be a fight where I think this is a fight where Malice would go with Big Red for this one. I don't think Malice would go with Wedgelets plus the drumstick for this one, at least because I think Wedgelets will just play like I think Wedgelets will just play right into Minotaur's hands, like what we saw with like Minotaur and Witch Doctor this season. Like I think the like this is my personal opinion. I'll be sharing this on the podcast. It's on the episode review, but I think the Wedgelets held Witch Doctor back in that fight. And I think that'd be the case here if Malice was to go with Wedgelets for this fight with Minotaur. So yeah, so as for this one, I'm leaning towards Minotaur. I think Minotaur is going to dominate this fight, personally. But I think Malice's big shots are going to be outdrive Daniel Freitas, which is going to be very hard because he's one of the best drivers in Battlebots. And but yeah, I think this is going to be an absolute bloodfest for Minotaur in this one, and I think Minotaur would advance pretty easily in this. All right, fight number two: Sawblaze and Cobalt. Now, this one would be an awesome fight if it happens. I'm very nervous that one of those two first round matchups, I'm going to be wrong in that prediction, and we're gonna get something else. But this is a matchup I would love to see in the future. Like, I want to see Sawblaze fight either of the Robotic Death Company robots because I think it'd be so much fun. It's like I think it'd be such a fun matchup between those two teams. Uh, yeah. As for this one, basically, I'm going Sawblaze with this one. My reasoning for this being, Sawblaze is not going to want to fire that hammer saw into Cobalt's weapon. No shot of that, because if Sawblaze fires that weapon into Cobalt's spinner, bye bye hammer saw is what I'm going to say right there. So yeah, Sawblaze's big shot of being able to strike blows on Cobalt with the hammer saw is if they're in a position where they know for sure they can strike the top or the front of Cobalt, or if they can flip Cobalt, where they can strike the underside. But I think if Cobalt starts winning the ground game, I think they're gonna I think they're just gonna absolutely manhandle Sawblaze in this one. And that is why I'm going to be predicting Cobalt for this one. I think Sawblaze is probably gonna have the start of this matchup right here, but I think the key to beating either of these two robots is just preventing them from getting underneath you. Basically, with both these robots, their big strength is if they get underneath an opponent, they can absolutely decimate that opponent with their weapon. And so I think whoever wins that ground game early on, but I probably would lean towards Sawblaze on that. But I think if Cobalt eventually starts getting shots on Sawblaze, I think we're gonna see Sawblaze go out in a blaze of glory, at least. So yeah, I'm gonna lean towards Cobalt, but that could go either way. That's a 50-50 matchup in my opinion. So yeah, I'm going Cobalt in this, but I think that's gonna be an awesome performance from either robot. One of them I think is gonna advance in a blaze of glory. One of them is gonna go out in a blaze of glory. All right, next fight right down below, Quadrant 4, Hydra and Whiplash, a rematch from a couple seasons ago where where we saw Whiplash come out on top in a very close judge's decision. So as for this one, I'm going to be this one. I think Jake Ewer is going to get some revenge in this one. I'm predicting Hydra to win this fight. So I think this is one case where basically I'm just going to say this right off the bat. I think this is another driving match, but this is one case where I would actually predict against Maddie Vasquez to lose the driving game. I think what's going to happen here is I think Whiplash and Hydra are probably both going to try to go for winning the ground game in this match. I bet Hydra goes with simply the sit and spin strategy. Let Whiplash come to him, because I bet Hydra wins the ground game in this situation here. But I bet we won't be seeing the leaky valves that we saw Hydra have in their first showdown with Whiplash. So yeah, once again, I think Hydra's gonna win that driving game, and I think the sit and spin strategy. I think it's going to work out well for Hydra in this one, and I think Hydra's going to win this one by a judge's decision. But I bet this will be another awesome fight to see, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, all right, right down below, Ribot and Ripperoni. So, yeah, battle between the Frog Bot and the Pizza Bot. So, this is another fight where I'm not sure which configuration Ribot would go with for this one, personally. I could see them using either one, the vertical spinner or the undercutter for this one. But it's not going to change my prediction though, because regardless of what configuration Ribot goes with, I am going to be going Ripperoni once again on this one. Like, I think absolutely either one of those configurations could help Ribot, depending on do they want to go head on with Ripperoni, where they go with the vertical spinner, or do they want to try to outdrive Frederick and go with the undercutter for this one and try to target like the wheels or those exposed sides on Ripperoni. But yeah, I gotta lean towards Ripperoni on this one because I think Ripperoni definitely has the driving power, the maneuverability, and the driver, Fraction more, or to be able to like avoid lots of the fancy tactics Robot might try to get to those exposed wheels. But I think this one's gonna come down to who can get the opposing robot's wheels first in this one. And I think I'm gonna lean towards Ripperoni winning that, but that's another one where could go either way. So yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Ripperoni. I think I'm counting on them getting to Ribot's wheels first, but it's a tough one. Like these fights are just getting tougher and tougher to predict. That's what I can tell you right here. So all right, other side of the bracket, Riptide and Hypershock for this. Ooh, that's gonna be awesome to see. Riptide and Hypershock, both very well known, very destructive robots, two very powerful drivers, and yeah, I think this is gonna be a driving match right there, especially on Will Bale's part. I think Riptide probably is gonna want to try to go for head-on exchanges or go for those wheels on the Hypershock, because basically, I think Riptide's also going to be trying to go for those first hits. Try to get that first hit and try to win that first whip. Try to get that first shot in. Because what Riptide's strategy is simply get the first hit on your opponent, just don't let up, keep hitting them again until they're dead. And I think that's what Riptide's probably going to be going for with this one. I think Will's going to be trying to use the speed of Hypershock to try to control the pace of this match, try to outdrive Ethan Kurtz in this one, and then try to pick his points, pick his shots, and basically win the fight that way at least. Because yeah, we haven't really seen Riptide take too many huge hits from opponents right there. So who knows exactly to me like how well a shot to the side or the backside would go for Riptide. But regardless, I don't think Hypershock would want to go head on in this fight with Riptide. And yeah, I do worry a weapon on weapon shot or a driving mistake by Will Bales is going to happen in this one, and that is why I'm going to go Riptide to win this fight. I think Riptide's either going to get that first hit they were looking for, to where they just start obliterating Hypershock with that egg beater, or Hypershock's gonna really slip up on their driving, and Riptide will get a free shot at the sides or something like that. Those are kind of my big concerns for Hypershock in this one, and that's why I'm going Riptide in this one. Sadly, I'm going Riptide because personally, like the reason why I say sadly is I really want Hypershock to win this one. Like I want to see Hypershock hoist that giant nut sometime because I think Hypershock's in due for it after some great seasons, a few letdowns, but overall a bunch of great seasons from Hypershock, especially in the recent one. And coming to this season too, Hypershock's been performing so well, and I just want to see a deep run from Hypershock. But unfortunately, I think a fight with Riptide here is where I think it's going to stop for Hypershock, sadly. So I am going Riptide on this one to move on to the next round. Endgame and Copperhead. So this one I'm really looking forward to as well, because I think these two are two robots that have both a very powerful weapon, a great driver, and some excellent ground game. So I think what this one's going to come down to is who can win the ground game and who can start landing the hits with their weapon. Basically, overall, I think Endgame wins a weapon on weapon exchange. Basically, I think Endgame probably wins a weapon-on-weapon exchange. But this is almost like an Endgame Minotaur showdown, because Copperhead is pretty well built to where we could see Copperhead pick apart the Wedgelets on Endgame, bend them upwards, to where Endgame can't get underneath Copperhead and land some hits on there. But, yeah, you kind of get the idea of what I'm kind of going for with that one. That's how I think Copperhead's probably going to win this one. But this is not me second guessing myself, because the whole time my prediction has been towards Endgame on this one. I think we could see an interesting strategy from Endgame here, because I think regardless, I think we're going to see some weapon on weapon action here. But I think Endgame's going to. I think this could be a fight where we could see them test a new setup or something like that for drum spinners. Because I think Endgame, they probably know pretty well if they fought Copperhead, that Copperhead is very much capable of doing the same thing Minotaur did in bending up the front of the wedgelets on Copperhead, or on Endgame, sorry. But and the other reason being, I think Endgame has better durability and is way more likely to outlast Copperhead in a fight like this. So, yeah, stuff like that is why I have Endgame winning this one, but I think it should be an awesome fight regardless, and I think this is going to be a KO regardless of who wins. Alright, next fight down below, Jackpot and Lockjaw. So, this is a rematch from 2020, where Jackpot, this was like their first, like, I'd probably say significant victory. Because like while the Sub-Zero and Ghost Raptor wins were fun, especially the Ghost Raptor one, because Jackpot split them. Lockjaw was like the first big name, like really big name, that Jackpot went up against and beat as well. So, and it'd be interesting to see what Lockjaw does differently for this one. I imagine what Lockjaw's probably going to try to do differently for this one is combination avoid the front, and maybe see if they can protect their weapon belt a little bit better. Because what happened in the last match was basically Jackpot used the reach of those vertical spinners and struck the weapon area of Lockjaw, causing them to lose their weapon right there for the remainder of the fight, and Jackpot just went to hell on Lockjaw straight from there, just laying hit after hit until that was it for Lockjaw. So my prediction for this one, I'm going Jackpot once again. I'm predicting the 30 seed to go to the top 8 in this one. Fine. Call me out if you want for it, but that is going to be my prediction for this one. I think Jackpot is definitely capable of getting the first hit once again in this one. I don't know if they disable Lockjaw's weapon like what they did last time, because I don't know if Lockjaw's added like more protection for that weapon area or extra belts for these new versions of Lockjaw. But I would not at all count on Lockjaw's weapon going down in the first few hits. But I think Lockjaw's definitely capable of winning some of these weapon-on-weapon shots, and I think another great fight's on the way between these two robots, because my favorite Jackpot fight from their rookie season was that fight with Lockjaw, and so I hope we get an awesome round 2 from these two robots. Alright, moving on. Huge and Mad Catter, the last fight of the second round here. So, yeah, as for this one, I'm going right off the bat here and saying I think Huge is going to win this one. Lots of these vertical spinners, I think, are what Huge is very well designed for, and I think I don't think Mad Catter has the height to be able to strike the base of Huge, so I think Mad Catter is probably going to have to go for weapon-on-weapon shots to try to, and then allow the arena to, or simply those hits just damaging Huge itself. Or Mad Catter is going to have to go for the wheels, and see if they can maybe pick apart the wheels and reduce Huge's mobility. Something like that, but regardless, I think Huge has the design advantage in this one. I think we're going to see them just land hit after hit on Mad Catter here, and I think Huge is going to win this one pretty easily. I bet Judge's decision for this one, but I think this one's going to be a pretty easy victory for Huge once again, because, yeah, you get the idea. So, let's go ahead and move on to round 3, the top 8. Alright, so here we are with the top 8 here, and I took a little break because, as you could probably see if you've been listening this whole time, that my voice has been dying right there, so I got up and got a drink of water, so we'll see if this helps at all. But yeah, anyway, time for the last third of this podcast. So the top 8 of my predictions for the bracket. So Minotaur and Cobalt to lead off, and a rematch from this season, literally. So yeah, with this one right here, basically I think it's gonna come down to basically can Cobalt take the hits from Minotaur, or I don't think it's exactly can Cobalt's hits take the hits from Minotaur. I think it's more can Cobalt's wedgelets take the hits from Minotaur, because what we saw in that match, and even the matchup before that, their first showdown. Basically, what happened was Minotaur managed to cripple the ground game of Cobalt, and then just took over from there and won the fight that way. That's what we saw in their recent showdown, and that's what we saw in the showdown before that. So, because yeah, if we summarize the first match, right, the recent match right there, Cobalt was winning that fight until Minotaur broke the wedgelets. And I think we're going to see something like that once again here. I think Cobalt's going to start the match out strong in this one, but then I think Minotaur is going to eventually cripple the ground game from Cobalt and manage to win the fight that way. So I think I have Minotaur winning this round 3 performance here, but Cobalt has been getting closer and closer towards a dub over Minotaur. So it would not shock me if Cobalt comes in with like a more durable set of forks for this match, or if they come in with a similar set and try to target the sides or something of Minotaur, try to outdrive Daniel Freitas, which I don't think is going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me exactly. So if we see another match between these two, I bet we see another excellent round 3. I bet we see another excellent showdown between these two robots, and yeah, I think my prediction is going to be for Minotaur once again here, because I think Minotaur is going to eventually cripple the front of Cobalt and then just start beating the living heck out of the frame of that robot until Cobalt stops moving or gets stuck upside down like what we saw last time. But yeah, regardless, I think Minotaur wins this one, and I think Minotaur goes to the final four. Next one, Hydra and Ripperoni. So for this one, right off the bat, I think this is going to be another flip fest from Hydra right there. I fully expect Hydra's probably going to go with the sit and spin strategy for this one and basically just try to sit in a spot right in like the middle of the arena and then turn itself towards Ripperoni. And Ripperoni's probably going to I bet Ripperoni's probably going to try to avoid the flipper at least, try to outmaneuver Jake. But I think the sit and spin strategy is just going to help Hydra here, because I think Hydra absolutely has the advantage with the ground game wise. And I think this will be a good test to see how well can Ripperoni take huge impacts like that. We know that Ripperoni's been able to take hits from its own spinner hitting the floor, because just take like the Gruff fight right there. Looks like they probably lost a wheel in that one, but they still took quite a few impacts to the floor there when that flywheel was not working and was still able to work. It was still functional throughout that full 3 minutes of that match. So basically, I think we're probably going to see a 3-minute flip fest from Hydra in this match, and that's what I have going for this one. I have Hydra moving on to the top 4. So next up, I'm going to actually go for the quadrant 3 instead, because that's the one I have the easier time predicting. And that's Jackpot and Huge right there. So on one hand, I think Jackpot's kind of a pro and con here on whether it's an easier or harder opponent for Huge than Mad Catter. The reason why I think it could be a harder opponent for Huge is that I think with the height of Jackpot and how massive those vertical spinners are, I think Jackpot could absolutely strike the base of Huge right there. I think Huge's base could be in jeopardy in a fight like this, but I would expect Huge to probably add some extra armor there to be able to protect itself from those hits. But then on the other hand, the reason why I think it could be an easier opponent is I think Jackpot does not have the durability that Mad Catter has to be able to take some of the shots from Huge. So for this one, I expect this to be a quick fight, regardless of who wins this match. And basically, I'm going to lean towards Huge on this one. I think while Jackpot I think has the power to possibly strike the base of Huge, I think Huge absolutely has the durability within that base, because they built it up a lot better for this season than what we've seen in prior seasons. Uh, I think Huge can absolutely take a few hits from Jackpot spinners, as well as dish out quite a few shots themselves. And I think we're gonna see jackpot spinners go down. I think probably I don't really want to say early in the match, but I think we're gonna see the spin. I think we're gonna see the weapon go down on jackpot at least early in the match, and I think we're gonna see huge cripple jackpot's drive and win this fight by KO. So, all right, let's move on to Riptide and Endgame. So, Riptide and Endgame. This was a fight I was actually predicting would happen in the qualifiers, and I hope, I pray, we get a matchup between these two either in this bracket or next season. Because this is one I would be so excited for. I think it'd be awesome to see a matchup between these two robots. I think it'd be an absolute beast and slugfest of a showdown. So for this fight, I think it's just gonna be all about who can get that first hit right off the bat, right there. And definitely, I'm gonna lean towards Endgame. I feel like Riptide's probably gonna go with Wedgelets for this one, like what they went with Mad Catter, and I think Black Dragon as well. But I think those are some things that could actually go in Endgame's favor for this one. Because I think if we see a head-on exchange between Wedgelets of Riptide and Wedgelets of Endgame, I think Riptide could possibly get popped up in the air and then lose that weapon on weapon exchange between the two robots. So, and then I think both the robots kind of have similar driving styles to where once they get the first shot in, they just don't let up on their opponent. That's especially Riptide's driving style. I think Endgame's a lot more cautious than Riptide is when it comes to landing the next shot. But Endgame absolutely does the same thing too. And I think a lot of that stuff is why I'm going to lean towards Endgame to take down Riptide in this one and move on to the Final Four. So, all right, let's move on to the Final Four. All right, Final Four time. So, as you see, there are my Final Four right there. I'm predicting Minotaur, Hydra, Endgame, and Huge are going to be the top four. All top 10 seeds. Yeah, all top 10 seeds. So, yeah, I would not be shocked if I'm wrong about this, because most seasons we see a 10 or higher seed into this one, and probably every season. I don't have it all memorized, so I might be wrong about that, but it's very, in my opinion, it's unusual to not see a 10 or higher seed in the top four, and I don't have one of those in this, but anyway, let's get started with the top four. Minotaur and Hydra. This is a rematch back from 2019, which was Hydra's first ever defeat in Battlebots. Basically, Hydra got a flip very early on Minotaur, but then Minotaur ended up picked apart the front and got to the sides of Hydra and disabled the drive on that robot pretty quickly to win that matchup by KO. So, how I see this fight going down. I think Hydra's just going to go with the sit and spin strategy here. Basically, and possibly if Minotaur gets flipped, just go in for more flips, basically. Try to keep Minotaur on its head, because drum spinners are not as effective when they are inverted. So Hydra might try to take advantage of that, at least. But how I kind of see this fight going down, I think Hydra's going to have the start of this match, but then I think we're going to see an eventual repeat of their last showdown. I think Hydra's ground game is going to eventually get bent upwards, and I think Minotaur could get some shots on the underside of the sides of Hydra. I don't think this fight's going to end as quickly as it did the last time these two fought, but I am predicting a Minotaur KO in probably 2 minutes or less. So yeah, I'm going for that one. I got Minotaur in the finals. All right, Endgame and Huge. So this one, another difficult one, especially for Endgame, because Huge once again has a major design advantage in a fight like this. Because Endgame's probably big shots, because I don't think Endgame has the height to be able to go weapon on weapon, or to be able to strike the base of Huge. If I took a guess, I might be wrong about that. Endgame might actually have the height to be able to strike the base of Huge, but I don't know. I don't know whether Endgame has the hype. Right now I'm guessing no, but it would not shock me if I'm wrong. But for this one, basically Endgame strategy is probably going to be go weapon on weapon with Huge, try to get them stuck somewhere, or go for those wheels. Try to pick apart like the stuff that gives Huge the traction it needs, and disable them that way, kind of. So as for this one, I am this one I was having a very hard time predicting when I was making this bracket right there, because I think Endgame is like a better version of Mad Catter. Not that Mad Catter is a bad robot at all. I just think Endgame is a bit more improved. I think the vertical spinner is a bit more powerful. I think they have more effective ground game, but yeah, this is not. This is a, this would be such a weird fight for Endgame here, but I am gonna lean towards Endgame on this one. But I've just been going back and forth on this one. Like, yeah, I am planning to stick with Endgame at least if these two do fight, because like I think Endgame. Like I think Huge could possibly struggle to get the damaging blows on a bot like Endgame compared to if they fought like Mad Catter, but like this is going to come down to basically because I think we're just going to see a lot of weapon on weapon shots. Who can dish out more damage to the other at least? I think Endgame is probably the better built one to be able to take some of those shots, but this could really go either way. I think Endgame's probably going to protect the weapon area like what they did when they fought Sawblaze and Scorpios last season, but yeah, very tough one to predict right here. Like but I am gonna lean towards Endgame dishing out the hits and get dealing out more damage and controlling the match. But should be an awesome fight if these two were to meet in the final four. So, all right, let's go to the final. Minotaur and Endgame round three is what I have in the final here. So even though it's not clear based on the font right there and the extra shine that we've got in that bracket right there, but yeah, it's Minotaur and Endgame in the final for this bracket. So as for this one, I'm going Minotaur round three, winning this round three, because I expect Endgame is probably going to try to go with a more durable set of forks, like what they did last time they fought. And I think Endgame's going to have the start of this match like what they did last time when they fought Minotaur. Because early on, I think Endgame was winning that fight. It's just when Minotaur started bending those forks backwards to where Endgame was going to struggle to get underneath them. I think is what Minotaur is going to eventually get going in this fight, eventually take advantage of, and win the fight that way. So yeah, I expect another awesome 3 minute brawl if these two were to meet in the final, and I think we're gonna see a Minotaur judge's decision and then Minotaur hoisting the giant nut if these two were to meet in the final. But but yeah, Endgame's key to victory is probably gonna be win some of those early shots, capitalize on them this time, because Daniel Freitas was able to outdrive Jack to be able to self-right. Like, not that that's against Jack or anything like that, because Jack is a great driver, and he did the best he could in that recent fight with Minotaur. It's just, yeah, because, like, I think if Minotaur gets knocked off balance and Endgame can't capitalize, at least on those shots, Minotaur's just going to be able to start going on a rampage and taking apart that front, and then start winning the weapon on weapon exchanges and start drilling into the underside of Endgame. But regardless, though, I think this will be an awesome fight to get to the finals, and definitely whoever would win this one would really earn it. So yeah, let's go ahead and show off my entire bracket. So yeah, here is my bracket now. So basically, out of all two of these robots here, I have Minotaur going all the way for this one, as I have had with the previous few seasons. So, but yeah, so basically, regardless though of who wins this, whoever wins this one is going to really earn that giant nut right there, because basically these are the competition just keeps getting more and more stacked with such powerful robots, so many just adding more big names to it, and we're gonna see some awesome action between these robots. So I think the best we've seen so many great fights in the qualifiers, and definitely the best is yet to come. So yeah, so that'll probably do it with my bracket predictions episode. So thanks for watching this podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe as usual, and comment down below some of your predictions for this one. Whether it's like your who you think will win it all, who you think will be in the final four, potential upsets you see happening, disagreements you have with my bracket. Like these are not the actual results. As much as I'd love to have a perfect bracket, I know pretty well that that's not going to happen. I know pretty well I'm going to have some mistakes probably right in the first round on the right side of that bracket. So, uh, yeah, thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.